Okay, I think we are really close to getting started. Just so that we can't literally open the curtain because we've got lots of stuff in front of it, but I'll go ahead and peel back the curtain a little bit, just for the sake of so that you understand what's happening today, because this is a very unique event. So, guys, in the front, stop talking, please. Okay, so that's actually my first point. Make sure that your phones are on silent, okay? Double check them now to make sure. Students and guests and parents should not be on their phones while these speeches are being delivered. And they certainly should not be distracting their neighbors, right, Katie? Right, exactly. So, this is a live event. It is for TEDx, okay? Yuki's going to give you a more formal opening, and we have a video that we're going to play that you're going to get a chance to watch that shares a little bit about the TEDx experience. But the reason I wanted to give you just sort of a sneak preview beyond what Yuki is going to say is because this is being recorded. We have 3 cameras going on. So if you're talking during the performance, if your phone goes off during the performance, this gets captured by the video cameras. These are being recorded for TEDx. TED is an international organization. It's probably the largest and best known place where you could go for lectures. World-renowned experts give TED Talks. It stands for Technology, Education, and Design. That's what the original focus of TED Talks were on those 3 topics, okay? They now have TEDx events, which are local community events. You all have been invited to this. But it's also being recorded, and these recordings will be sent to the international TED office. And they will select some of these talks potentially for inclusion on TEDx websites or even potentially TED's primary site. So I say all of this because I know a lot of the students gave business presentations earlier. I know you're tired, you want to have fun, you want to have formal tonight. I totally get it. I'm asking you to please stay off your phones and pay attention for just 2 hours. These are 10-minute speeches, okay? This is not going to go on forever. And there's no Q&A. As soon as one person's done, I switch the slides, and the next person comes up. So we're just going to shotgun these, all right, with just a little bit of a gap potentially for a PowerPoint transition, okay? So I just want you all to understand how important this event is for our young speakers. If you laugh inappropriately because you know the speaker, that will completely derail potentially that speaker and affect their opportunity to have a legitimate recording with the TED organization. So it's really important that obviously if it's a funny moment, laugh. We want you to laugh, but we want you to be engaged appropriately, be off your phones, and give full attention to these young speakers who have worked really hard. Usually TEDx speakers spend months on their talks. Some of the speakers today have been working on them for 1 week. They've memorized a talk in 1 week. See what I mean? It's important. So I want to make sure everybody understands the seriousness of this, okay? Now, we're going to laugh. If some goofy things happen, that's okay. If the mic cuts out, which mine started cutting out a little bit, we're just going to keep going, right, Tedsters? We're just going to keep on talking. If your mic goes out, you're just going to keep talking, okay? There's your cameras in the middle. There's 2 in the middle and 1 off to the side. We have a confidence monitor here, which speakers will be able to see their slides so they never have to turn behind them. These speakers are going to stand on that red dot. That is their full mobility. They don't get to leave the dot, okay? It's a special dot that comes to us from TEDx. All right, so do any of you have any questions before we begin this formal event? Lena?
I'll be stepping out at around 4.
Yep.
So it's okay.
Yep, that's totally fine. In fact, after Yuki speaks and I speak, we hear 5 students, and then we take a brief 5-minute intermission. We're going to hear a little piano playing, and then we're going to have another 5 speakers. But again, unlike this morning, we're shotgunning these. There's no questions. There's no judges. It's just you enjoying the opportunity. And by the way, I encourage you, there's nothing more, and I say this as someone who delivered a TEDx in 2019, there's nothing that anybody enjoys more as a speaker than to have all of you express interest. So come up to the speakers at intermission and say, hey, Ellie, that was really cool. You know what? I loved that quotation that you had about perfectionism. It resonated with me. And strike up a conversation, right? That's really great for our speakers. Any other questions or comments before we begin the formal event?
The photographs I want to fill out, I was originally want to give to them. So all the students, then you sit on the back, okay, when you finish. So can you move, Matt, can you move forward? We want to fill out the 6 here.
Yeah.
Okay. Emma, you come. Annabelle, can you come sitting here?
Okay, I'm going to head over and start playing the TED video, then Yuki, then me, and then we begin the TED speakers. We can certainly turn the translation on, that's fine.
Turn the TV off, totally try.
Or do you want it off? Do you want it off?
On is better because there's going to be a different light source.
So the airplane, that TV should be turned off?
Yes, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah,
King,
so
can you turn off the TV?
Kyle,
Or
yeah.
whoever,
Can you
yep.
turn off that TV?
The one on the stage, the one on the stage. The AirPlay, it says AirPlay on it.
Yeah, maybe just unplug the TV. To make them dark. You know
There we go. Wow, that took care of that.
Can you push that TV back? The TV. Will you be able to move? I think you move it.
Too strong. Okay. So in the back booth, who's in the booth?
Booth? I don't.
Is anybody in the booth?
Somebody.
Or Kyle, are you going back to the booth?
No, you don't allow people in the booth, right?
I just in case we need some volume adjustment on the microphone, just so somebody can.
Yeah, Darren is in the booth.
Okay, Darren. So if the audio and video folks, like the gentleman coming back to you now, say I'm too loud, they may want you to regulate the volume. Everybody, I'm so happy that you're here. It means a lot to everybody that you're present in this audience. It's a nice crowd. The students get a chance to have an audience. They're not just talking to me and themselves. They actually have a full audience that gets to hear them. So thank you very much for being here. I look forward to chatting with you more at intermission. So I'm going to start playing the video and we're going to get this underway.
Welcome to something special. Welcome to TEDx. This TEDx event is part of a global conversation that takes place every day in every corner of the world. In schools, in theaters, in workplaces, even in prisons, people gather to hear the best ideas bubbling up in their communities. More than 3,000 TEDx events are held every year in 170 countries. It's a remarkable thing. TEDx events are self-organized under a license from TED, a non-profit organization devoted to discovering and sharing powerful ideas in the form of TED Talks. It's not TED itself, but your local TEDx team of volunteers that has done all the work to put on today's event, including booking all of the speakers. It's this team's ideas, dedication, and time that have made this possible. We really hope today's program sparks an exciting conversation. This is a day for curiosity and for skepticism, for inspiration and for action. The more you enter into it, the more you will take out. And now, On with the show.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. In this moment, I would love to invite you to a period of time where the world is much bigger, it's much strange, or we can say it is much more interesting than when we are young. Do you still remember the time when we are young? We were so curious about everything in our life. Everything happened every single day. We question about why the sky is blue, how big is the universe, why people have to grow old, and why the world works the way it does. We questioning without wondering whether it is so normal, it is too strange, or it is too obvious, because we just simply wanted to know. As we grow up, things are changing. We became friends with this wonderful world. We became familiar with it. We are learning the answers. We are learning everything. We learn the rules. Well, we learn the answers and what is normal, what is be considered as abnormal, what is possible and what is impossible, what's supposed to make sense. Well, all the way along, we probably forget one thing, is keep asking the questions and keep curiosity. We fill up our hands with all different kind of answers where we can put it on our quizbook and get 100%. Well, in this all along the way, we stop asking the questions. Is it because the world is becoming boring? Well, the world is changing every single day, and it's totally fresh new. It's it is so good to becoming a human that we can explore the world every single day of our life. It is because we thought we dropped into the trap that we thought we fully understand the world. So today, I want to invite everybody to sit down, to slow down, and most importantly, let's just unlearn it. Well, sometimes a great idea gives us a perfect answer that we can put on our quiz booklet. Sometimes it doesn't. It keeps us stopped. It keeps us just thinking and came up with another great, wonderful question. And in the spirit of ideas worth spreading, and this is TEDxSCA Youth, where X means this is an independent organized TED experience. And right here, we have a lot of, right here in the SCA Academy, our community, our home, we are gathering the vastly of young people come from different backgrounds, different experiences, coming up together to share their ideas, their perspectives, and their experiences. They may inspire you. They may challenge you. Also, they may motivate you, or they just tell a simple story that make you feel like I'm so familiar with it, but in a totally different way. So, ladies and gentlemen, throughout today's event, I want everybody to just hold one question in your mind. What we will learn from the perspective of the young people. We will learn something new. We will question something that we already understand. And we will rediscover the question that we forgot to ask for a long time. Well, are we going to bring back the perfect answer? Well, maybe not. And also, I don't think so, because we will be more curious to keep moving up, but longer after the lights goes down, after this stage. We will be curious enough to explore the world. We will be curious enough to explore our lives and to see different things happening going on every single day. My name is Yuki, and it is my pleasure to be your host today, as well as my co-host, Mr. Dino Pape, who is as well as our guest speaker, and also our lineup wonderful speakers coming to the stage. Welcome to TEDxSCA Youth and Youth Voice for Education. Education not always come from one direction, and learning doesn't have to go through from the adult to the child. And here comes our first idea of today. We all know one thing about the time. As a day, we have 24 hours. But what do we see this question from a different perspective? That is a day more than 24 hours. Our guest speaker is spending more than 25 years focusing on public speaking, communication, and debating. And he's also focusing on how the technology grew up with us and change our life, change our pattern of thinking. Well, let's give our guest speaker, Dino Pape, a huge TEDx applause.
Thank you, Yuki. When I gave a TEDx talk in 2019, of course this was before COVID, and I posed the question, what would you do with a 100-hour day? And of course this presented some confusion, so I told the story of Abby, a student I met in Dallas, Texas, in a Dallas, Texas area school, and when we did the math together, in an advanced placement class, we realized that Abby consumed 138 hours a day of technology consumption every day. How is that possible? Obviously, there are only 24 hours in a day. Well, here's what we discovered during that talk. And before I even got to the TEDx stage, here's what we discovered. When you add up all of your technology consumption overlapping, which means that if the technology is available to you, it counts as attention. So if you have, like Abby, 7 social media accounts, and all 7 have alerts, that means you have 7 opportunities to be distracted at any given time. It's calling your attention. It's calling your phones or calling your attention right now. You're probably buzzing. Maybe you have a smartwatch on. It's drawing your attention right now. And so what I have been studying for many years, way before social media existed, back when we had things like email listservs and bulletin board systems where you had to log into a central telecommunications network in order to have some of the basic text messaging that we experience today. All the way back in time. And we've gone from an hour or 2 of technology where your phone was hanging on your wall or in the hallway of your dorm room or in your dormitory to it being instantaneously yelling at you, vibrating, calling desperately for your attention at any given minute. And now, it's worse. It's worse than 2019. Why is it worse? Because now everybody has a cell phone. At that time, the average age was around 10 for your first cell phone, 10. Now it's closer to 8. 8-year-olds with their first phone, and not just a phone, but an actual data-grabbing device that can distract you from whatever it is that's trying to draw your attention. And of course, we have AI. And generative artificial intelligence has some marvelous capabilities. I use it every day. I actually created a small business of my very own, and I use AI to help me. I'm not anti-AI, and by the way, I'm not anti-technology. What I am is pro all of you understanding the incredible effects of those devices. And I see it every day. Attention spans are a fraction of a second. Your teachers are trying to grab and hold your attention for 45 minutes. They're lucky. They're lucky if they get to keep it for 10 before you're distracted by something else. There's another enormous impact that I took from my last talk, and I think it's still powerful today, besides the distractions, and that is the idea of absent presence. And that concept is exactly what you think it is. You're here, but you're not. You're at the dinner table, but you're all on your devices, which means you're not actually there. You might as well be alone eating. You might as well be alone wherever it is that you are gathered where your phones are out. So be aware, and be aware of what that communicates to those around you and be willing to put your phone down and say, you know what, you've got my full attention right now. I want to hear what you have to say. This TED Talk is a great opportunity for just such a situation. Phones down, engaging, listening, learning. This is a really cool and unique opportunity. And it happens when we're all gathered together to hear a central message. But there's another thing that I'm particularly concerned about that really applies in particular to today's young people. And that is, I'm very, very concerned about our ability to deeply learn. If you read a paragraph and you immediately respond to your cell phone and type a response and then put your phone down and then reread the same paragraph because you got distracted by it and it buzzes again, and by the way, you've got a movie playing in the background. Very few of us study or read without music playing, a movie playing. One of my former students played a show on Netflix every hour of the day. It was always on. The show was Lost. I don't know if any of you have ever seen that show, but he was obsessed with it. He watched Lost on repeat every day for hours as background noise, and would occasionally look up, smile, get engaged, and then go back to what he was doing again. Are we deeply learning? Are we deeply thinking? And your speakers today are going to encourage you in many ways to disconnect, or if they're going to tell you to connect, they're going to tell you how best to connect. Because I know teachers of yours who are in this very audience. I know they care about your learning, but if you do not engage deeply in your subject matter, if you let generative artificial intelligence take over your thinking, then you are part of a missed generation. A missed generation. And who do we have out here in the audience today? We have Gen Z. But two of your speakers are Generation Alpha. We're beginning the Alpha generation now. Your Alpha generation is entering high school soon. And Generation Beta is, what, 2 years old? They're toddlers right now. Generations are changing so rapidly. When I was growing up, a generation was 20 years. Now, it's more like 5, even though they're measured in intervals of 10 to 15, but in many cases, generations change in 5 years. That's stunning. I want you to embrace technology. I want you to enjoy technology. I want to be able to allow you to use technology, but I want you to be incredibly aware of what it's doing to you. And that you choose to engage with technology or not, based upon what you're experiencing in life right now. So that's my big message out of this talk, is be willing to think about how you engage in today's technologies. When do you do it? What does it communicate when you're around people, when you engage with your technologies instead of with them? And what does it mean to your ability to learn and think for yourself? Because things have not gotten better since 2019. I would argue things have actually worsened because we now have a technology that people think can do your thinking for you. Not just your work, not just a homework assignment, which you could always buy online, as a side note, but now it can replace your very thinking. And that is, for my generation and for others, something that we want you to really, really, really seriously think about. I am so excited that you are here. I'm also really excited that we have a collection of outstanding students who are going to be presenting to you. And with that, I'm going to switch roles, head down and operate some PowerPoint slides, and let's get this show on the road, okay? Thank you again for being here.
to talk with our instructor, Lena, and our teacher, who's right now sitting on our guest list, Mr. Edward Cannell and Miss Gabrielle. So we discussed a lot in our office, saying that we don't forget ourselves out of the technology. Technologies are magic. We love it. We want to play the phones every single day. But at the same time, we can think about how we keep being a girl, being a boy, being a human, and interact with each other. Like, remember what the first session of summer camp after the last session, Mr. Edward Cannell told us, now it is time to interact with your peers, with your teachers, with the human beings with skin, and they can talk. Thank you so much for Dino for this really insightful speaking. And now, have you ever have a chance to walk into a room, said something embarrassed, or felt a little bit out of place? And you thought that, oh no, everybody definitely noticed that. I'm so embarrassing. Well, our first speaker represents Generation Alpha. A 12 years old Ellie is going to educate us on the culture of young people today who seek out of perfectionism at every turn. Learn how our brain tricks us into believing what is not actually true. Let's welcome Ellie Wang.
Just a moment, Ellen. What's that?
Can you make that one bigger?
One moment. There we go.
Okay.
You're not really seeing this. It's all behind the scenes stuff.
Please spell the word anthropomorphize. Definition: anthropomorphize. To attribute human characteristics or behavior to a god, animal, or object. Can you use that in a sentence? People tend to anthropomorphize their pets, such as dogs. Okay, anthropomorphize. 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 If you were standing on this stage, spelling the word anthropomorphize, do you think you would be able to spell it correctly? Some people wouldn't, because it's a lot of pressure to do anything in front of an audience. Suddenly, your hands begin shaking. You think everyone is watching you. You think everyone expects you to succeed. But what if that's not actually true? It was in 4th grade, and everything was blurry with excitement. My hands, shaky, traced the air as I named each letter to a word that started with S and ended with U-O-U-S. I was so excited, so that was probably why I forgot the word. Surprisingly, I somehow won and advanced to the next round, the county round, as one of only 2 students from my school. Fast forward 1 year to the next year's spelling bee. I was a 5th grader who, apparently, was definitely going to win the spelling bee again, according to those who had witnessed my victory the previous year. So, I trained hard every day, making sure I knew how to spell each and every word precisely. For I knew if I didn't make it to the county round again, people were going to be in my face asking me why that happened, and that would make my spelling bee success line fail. So, I knew I couldn't let that happen. But of course, I had overestimated the difficulty of the words I was going to spell. My hands shook just like the year before as I attempted to spell the word phantom. Now, most of you probably don't know me, but it's very fair to say that I'm the world's #1 overthinker. But in this particular situation, I underthought. Therefore, I heard the word phantom as fandom, and because I was so eager to get the word right, of course I didn't ask for the definition. That resulted in me being eliminated in the first round. Now, I think you're all wondering, what happened next? Well, really, nothing. I had falsely predicted that people would taunt me for not making it past the preliminary round. But instead, they handed me tissues and moved on with the rest of their day. As you can tell, I thought I was being pressured by something that wasn't there. Hold on one sec. Pressure changes how we think and perform. Much of the pressure we feel doesn't come from other people. It comes from our own interpretation of what other people expect. Furthermore, no one's going to remember every little thing you did, even if you made the most obvious mistake. People just don't have enough space in their brains to remember everything. And finally, there is no such thing as perfectionism, and even trying to get close to it is a burden too big for anyone to carry. First, pressure changes how we think and perform. Pretend you're about to attend a big, important event, an interview, the finals of a sports competition, etc. Because this event is so meaningful, the need to do well is powerful. Therefore, we are naturally pressured to do well, resulting in nervousness. When this happens, many people tend to overthink and procrastinate. Each word or movement they make will start becoming less of an action and more something to harm their progress toward their goal. However, the more this happens, the worse it gets. For example, pretend you're practicing for a piano concert. At home, you're at ease, playing the piece through and through without mistakes. But then you step on stage, and the atmosphere changes. Your stomach twists with nerves, and suddenly, your hands are shaking. Maybe you manage to play the piece without mistakes, but you know yourself that's not your best performance. Once you get home, you keep thinking, oh, I didn't do as good as I should have, or I really need to play better next time. According to an article published on Medium on May 14, 2026, this is called post-event rumination. Post-event rumination is where our brain plays our mistake on repeat, like a broken record. Also, according to the same article, it states, there's a difference between caring about your work and being terrorized by it. This is a very important quote, so I want you all to repeat it with me. I will count down from 3 and we will say it together. 3, 2, 1. There's a difference between caring about your work and being terrorized by it. In 4th grade, I cared about what I did, practicing hard. But once 5th grade came, the only thing I cared about was winning and living up to my classmates' expectations. That was when pressure stopped motivating me and started controlling me instead. Next, the pressure we feel often comes less from other people and more from our own interpretation of what they expect. Or, in shorter terms, your brain tricks you because no one actually cares about every little thing you do. Psychologists from Verywell Mind, in an article updated March 11th, 2026, call this the spotlight effect. The spotlight effect is our tendency to believe that other people notice and remember our mistakes much more than they actually do. So, whether my memory is perfect or not, you get the idea. I was stressed, I overthought, I lost. The spotlight effect is an illusion cast on us by our brains. Finally, there is no such thing as perfectionism. Thomas Curran, a world-leading expert on perfectionism, states, I was genuinely of the belief that perfectionism was the one thing that was holding me up when everything around me was collapsing. but it was actually perfectionism that was creating those problems. Curran says, the most striking part is that one form, socially prescribed perfectionism, the sense that other people demand perfectionism of you, is accelerating on a curve that turned sharply upward around the early 2000s. Perfectionism is a public health risk. It's associated with increased depression and anxiety, he states. In this modern world, we tend to believe that the social media as well as devices, the iPhones, the iPads, the laptops, etc., are the ones that are doing the most harm to our mental health. But really, they're not, because the statistics show that during the era where anxiety skyrocketed, most people didn't even have phones in their pockets. Then, how is this tied to perfectionism? Well, let me enlighten you. During the same era in which anxiety blew up, the GDP per capita fell drastically, followed by an economic crisis that occurred in 2010. In response, people panicked and set unreachable goals for themselves, their clients, and their profit margins, or in other words, perfectionism. Now, briefly concluding this. Our brains telling us that other people are watching, plus post-event rumination, plus socially prescribed perfectionism are the biggest lies our brain tells us. My spelling bee story isn't really about a spelling bee. It's about something almost all of us experience. So whether you're playing an important tennis match, performing an instrument recital, competing in championship, auditioning for the school play, or even standing on stage to give your very own TEDx talk, our brains often tell us the same story. Everyone is watching me. Everyone expects me to be perfect. If I mess up, everyone will remember. But most of the time, that's simply not true. And when we continue to think this, we can create unnecessary stress, cause us to perform below our potential, lose confidence, and even avoid opportunities that can help us grow. So, the next time you're about to do something important, remember, the biggest obstacle may not be the challenge in front of you. It may be the story your brain is telling you.
Thank you, Ali. That also reminds me of my story. When I was in middle school, I have practiced so hard for half a year just to win another competition between the classes, and that I was joining in the women's basketball team. I played so hard, I tried so hard, but in the end, I dared not to go to the field because I thought all the boys are looking at me. I want to be perfect. I want to win the game. Well, thank you, Ellie, that you told us that jumping out of the professionalism, that you can try something more. You can mess up, you can try more, and even you can do the thing that you thought you can never be done. So talking about trying something new, piano or flute, or let's do both. Our next speaker, Sunny Luo, studied those and discovering that each different instruments have their own way. Let's welcome Sunny Luo.
Hello guys, I still remember why the first time I heard a flute solo, the sound was really light, elegant, and astonishing to me. I was captivated. I remember thinking that if I could play this, it would be wonderful. So I begged my mom that if I can get a flute and start a lesson. She agreed. A few weeks after the breathing lesson, I finally got a chance to pick up the flute. I opened the case, put it together, and did what the teacher told me to breathe and play the note. I was expecting something nice, something amazing, or just a note, but nothing really happened. All I heard was air like this. And then I got confused, because on the piano, to me, since I've been playing when I first touched a flute, it was already like 3 years. So I can shape a melody and keep a steady rhythm easily, and producing a clear sound, controlling all of my breathing and playing is a simple phrase, but I cannot do it on the flute. I kept asking myself that if I already know this, if I already know what does it sound like, then why can't I play it? Many music students wonder that if I pick up a second instrument, will this bother or fall behind of my primary instrument? All I have to tell you, no, because having a second instrument can actually improve your musical fluency, strengthen your skills, and help students who understand music more deeply. It can also support your mental health and by giving musicians a new way of understanding the music and expressing themselves. When you get bored of practice, if you only have one instrument, you can only take a break and then redoing it. But imagine if you have a second instrument, you can take a break, play something else using another instrument, and then go back to the first one. I believe that learning a new instrument opens the door to new ways of playing everything. And every instrument actually offers a different way of techniques, challenges, and perspectives. And those experiences deepens our understanding of the instrument that we already know. So first, learning multiple instruments can improve a musician overall musical understanding. As different instruments, they focus on different parts. For example, if you play violin, they focus deeply on intonation. But instead, if you play a trumpet, it more focuses on like air control and air support. According to music education and some multi-instrumentalists, learning different instruments can increase musical fluency, strengthen your ear, and build a more complete understanding of your rhythm, pitch, and techniques. And a quote by School of Music that playing one instrument can help you learn another, and the more instruments you play, the easier it is to pick up another. This article explains that this increases your musical fluency and gives musicians a pretty better understanding of why they already love music and how does every rhythm work. Another quote from Forbes Music said that learning multiple instruments can build a versatility, deepen the understanding of the music theory, and strengthen skills like memory, mobility, and the problem solving. So therefore, if you're learning another instrument, you're just building on top of the other instead of starting everything from zero. And another important part is that what else do we gain from just one instrument led to the other? Since you're not starting from zero, as you already have some musical skills, techniques, etc., and each instrument places a different demands on the brain and body. So learning just more than one instrument can strengthen a musician in a new area and instead of repeating the same process. Musicians must adjust to different challenges such like breathing control, hand coordination, tone precision, and rhythms, or just everything else that you need to focus on. And because of this, just learning a second instrument can make a person more flexible musician. And some of you may not play an instrument at all. Maybe it's been a long time since you have picked up your instrument that you're demanded to play for elementary school or middle school. My message isn't that everyone have to become a musician. It is about trying something new, trying something that you won't never try before. And then maybe it can open a door to new ways of thinking or just expressing yourselves and growing better. And back to the topic, I want to share a story from Alicia. Okay, Alicia, who's a music major, who just talked about playing multiple instruments, and she sent it, and then she posted a video, which explained that when she becomes a little burnt out from her main instrument, other instrument can help her reconnect music. She explained it as it restored my soul. Instead of just giving up completely, just learning other instruments give her a little non-harmful and more joyful relationship with music. And this is important because music is not only about technical skills, it's also about your emotion, the effort you put into this, and what are you expressing to either yourselves or your audiences. Okay, and learning a second instrument can offer a fresh start to you and can help you to remind you about why do you love music, why do you choose to play an instrument first. You may discover a different style of playing, another new way of expressing emotion, or just simply just rediscovering the joy of why did you choose this. And you may fall into love into music again and over again when you pick up another instrument. In my own experiences, switching between the piano and the flute is helped me stay motivated, because when I got frustrated on one of my flute pieces, I would try to play the rhythm out in my piano to hear what it's like so that I can shape it better in the flute. And every time if I got really burned out when I can't get a scale right or something right on the piano, I would play something that I like and I side read on my flute so I can just like it more and then find why do I love music and why should I practice into this. And this is why I believe that learning another instrument is just much more about that you're just adding another skill. It also gives us another perspective, another source of appreciation, another source of inspiration, and another source to the reason why are we keep learning. And this is really important because since music is about a way of expressing yourself. When people first play the music, it's because they want to express their emotions to other people without talking. So that's why they create different rhythms instead of just playing scales or just notes from da 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 and then but instead we have rhythm, we want to express emotion, and we have like really soft or really loud music. So the next time when we're thinking about learning another instrument, we should not only ask about this, will this be harder? Will this disturb both of my instrument, whether it's a new one or the old one? We should also ask what kind of skill, what kind of rhythm, idea, and joy could it also bring to me? Could it bring back the joy I had, and once why did I choose the instrument to play? And learning multiple instruments does not just mean something busier, and it can also mean something that is deeper, something more creative, and makes you a more confident person. You know, when I first started to play the flute, I told you about my struggles of not even making a sound. I thought it would be easy, but what I found was pretty much a challenge just to develop my appreciation for both the piano and my flute. I really enjoyed to play both of the instruments, and so I want to end my speech with a little piece that I'll play on my flute. In the spirit of Ellie's speech just before mine, just don't please look for perfection. I want to share this appreciation with all of you, and enjoy.
Two different instruments, many ways of thinking, and a different perspective can change everything. For the next speaker, that shift came when he was 12 years old and during an experience that he was in a hospital in China. For the first time and the first encounter with the loss of life, John Alex shares a very personal journey into a culture we rarely think about. Let's welcome Alex.
Are you setting up the slideshow? Cool. Just a moment. Hello everyone, my name is Alex, and this is my talk, The Invisible Threads of Connections. So, before I give a bit of my spiel, I'm going to give my narrative on what Yuki gave context to. So, for a bit of context, I was 12 years old at the time, and I was 12 years old at the time, and I had little to no knowledge on the inner workings and the behind the scenes of a hospital. I always thought the knowledge that I got was always from television or cinema, and it was very different from reality, as you can see from the images here. But rather than the dramatic solo performance that the TV and cinema showed, it was rather much more complex and it included many more people. So to begin my narrative, I'll begin on the day of the incident. It was around 5 to 6 p.m. Adam was just shuffling around, we were both just chilling, and then suddenly, emergency code blurred out in room 12. Room 12 across the hall. Adam was a part of the team that responded to this code, so he had to rush over immediately. Since I had no supervisor at the time, I needed to follow him because I had nowhere to stay. I couldn't, since I was underage, I couldn't do anything other than follow him. So I followed him. I didn't know where to go, but I wasn't allowed in because it was an emergency room after all, and I was underage. However, I was able to watch through the window of the corridor. So, room 12, it's a memory that will stick with me for years to come. I remember the exact details that happened. It was 30 minutes to 40 minutes of frantic, chaotic motion within the room. I cannot describe in words what happened within the room. All I just saw was doctors, nurses, family, friends, all these people going around, shuffling around, trying to save the single life or help the single life live for a tiny bit longer. And you might be thinking, how? What was happening in this scenario? What was happening? Yeah, I can't describe that to you. My 12-year-old brain, the goldfish brain that I had back then, cannot describe to you what was happening in that moment. All I just saw was chaotic motion. And for a good 10 minutes, my completely dumbfounded brain and panicked brain decided to shut off. I stood there, blanked out. My other friend, who was also interning at the time, he told me that I completely blanked out at the windows corridor for at least a good 10 minutes. And by the time I came to my senses, the chaotic motion and the screaming within the room had suddenly turned to sudden silence. Everything within the room, all the movement, all the screaming, it had turned into silence. And when I came to my full senses, the only thing that remained left was the green horizontal line of the vitals machine. I want you to close your eyes and try to imagine how that felt. You probably can't, because unless you've experienced this moment yourself, experienced human loss for yourself, you'll notice that us as humans, we don't have a way to describe human loss. And that is the terrifying weight of human mortality. It can hit harder than any physical blow can. And that's the main lesson, that's one of the biggest lessons I learned, that we take human mortality and human life for granted at times. And this was a lot for my brain to handle when I was a kid. I did not know, even though I knew the patient passed, I didn't know what I could do, what I should do. I was affected harder than I should. I didn't even know the patient. I didn't know their family. I didn't know their name, for God's sake. I didn't know what to do. Even though I felt so affected by whatever happened in that room, even though it was completely unaffiliated with me. And I completely collapsed from shock right after. For around 30 straight minutes, I collapsed from shock. and I woke up around half an hour later. This was the first thing I realized. One of the lessons I realized from this experience was our instinct, our human instinct to cause blame on another when we're faced with loss. But even if it's a loss of a personal item, a personal pet, or even just a loved one, I noticed that us as humans, we always decide to go for blame. Whether it's blame on ourselves, on other people, even just the nature of this world. I noticed that we always had someone to blame when we first lost. And this was one of the first lessons that Adam taught me after that incident. Even though I was completely emotionally distressed and I couldn't even think for my mind, Adam taught me a lesson that I'll never forget. And that lesson is that the burden of saving a life in any scenario is never carried by one individual. Rather, it was always carried by the people willingly enough to put their time, effort, and sometimes even their life to saving a life or to cut their life up just to keep that patient's or user's life for a split second longer. And one of the quotes that he told me, or one of the words that he said to me was that instead of looking for blame, which was very much what I was doing at the time, you should look for respect. And this brings me to my talk for today. Why did I talk about my narrative on my human experience with human loss? Because I've been researching a lot into Chinese philosophy and then philosophy into relationships and connections. We often take connections and relationships for granted, even if we don't notice it. Whether it's just meeting a stranger on the side of the road, or even the lifelong relationships that suddenly end in a split second. I noticed that us as humans, we tend to take relationships and connections for granted. And Chinese philosophy perfectly explains why we should not do that. Because Chinese philosophy states how us as humans, we cannot exist without each other. And that we aren't defined by our personal achievements. Rather, we are not on isolated islands, rather we are always connected together by invisible threads. And this is something we also take for granted in terms of our the fragility of life and also our human mortality. We often take this way too much for granted, and we walk through our lives usually thinking that we are unbreakable. Yet every day we can find ourselves at death's door, even if we don't notice it. And this leads one of my messages for you guys today as the audience. I want you guys to remember today that even though the fragility of life and human mortality exists within our life today, there are things that we can do. And one of the things we can do is just giving help. Help is a thing that a lot of us tend to ignore, even though we know it exists and we know we can give it. Very much so, we find ourselves being as bystanders every now and then, no matter what situation it is. But you never know how much that tiny little act, even if it's just waving to a stranger, or even just being there for a person who you know is struggling. That tiny act can change their lives and can be the impact that a person needs. And this leads to one of my final points. This is a Chinese philosophical concept called Yuanfen. Yuanfen doesn't have a definite term or definition in terms of its English term, but it rather represents that no encounter between us humans is truly random. Rather, we always experience our encounters because they are meant to be and they have a purpose. Rather, we go through our lives meeting all these people, meeting all these friends, and even just these random strangers. Every person that we meet, even if it's just a stare, they always have an impact on your life, no matter what it is. For me, that example in that hospital room at the time, I didn't know that patient at all. I was never affiliated with the family, even though I didn't know who they were. Through Yanfen, I was able to connect to the patient, and even though we never talked, he passed away before I even was able to speak a word to him. And through Yanfen, his connection, his invisible connection, learned to me, and it had an impact on me that would stay for me the rest of my life. this impact of learning the fragility of life and human mortality. So, what is the final message for you guys, for the audience? Why did I go through all of this just to explain to you the fragility of life, human mortality, and why you guys should not take your relationships for granted? Because I want you guys to look around you. Everyone in this room right here, in the auditorium, all you guys are connected together. No matter if you never spoke to each other or you guys just met for the first time. You guys are all connected, and I don't want you guys to take that relationship and connection for granted. Everyone around you has impacted you, whether you know it or not. Whether you're just being there in the summer camp, or whether you've been lifelong friends. In terms of what I want to say to you guys, we cannot predict how much time we have left, but we can definitely control how much time we spend it with each other and fellow humans. In one of my favorite quotes of all time by the philosopher Henry Frederick Emile, life is short, and we never have too much time for gladdening the hearts of those who walk the dark journey with us. So be swift to love, and make haste to be kind. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Alex. Our next speaker, May, brings together the world of healthcare. Healthcare from the perspective of a woman. She contends that our healthcare industry and medical research has long neglected women. So let's see what's going on, and let's see the fact that we are ignored. Welcome, May.
Sorry, I'm just going to hold you up for just a second. There we go. Okay. Give her another hand. Yay!
I've always believed that medicine is one of humans' greatest achievements. I mean, have you ever seriously thought about it? Someday another human just looked at another human and thought, you know what, let's cut them open. And I don't like that, let's throw that away. And maybe let's add that, and somehow they're fine. But jokes aside, it's pretty cool. We've eradicated diseases, and we've come up with life-saving vaccines and treatments that have saved millions of lives. It's truly something magical, and everyone was included in the process, right? Well, that's what I thought until this year I learned something that completely changed my perspective. It wasn't until the early 1990s that women were routinely required to be part of the federally funded clinical researches in the United States. And even though in 1989, the NIH, National Institutes of Health, published a policy encouraging the inclusion of women, it only became a law passed by Congress in 1993 for women to be included, which was 33 years ago. 33 years ago. When people were going around watching CDs on early computers, women weren't even part of the medical studies that form the modern healthcare today. So that brings me to my talk today. When medicine ignores half the world's population. I believe everyone here knows that there is inequality for women, but when we think about it, what first comes to our mind is usually gender pay gaps, promotion opportunities, and media representation. Not a lot of people realize or even believe that there is inequality for women in areas like medical research and healthcare biases. A study published in 2024 by the PNAS, Proceeding of National Academy of Science,
did a study on over 21,000 emergency care patients, and what they found was pretty shocking. Female patients are much less likely to receive pain medication compared to male patients, even when they show the same complaints, and when the doctors take into consideration of pain severity and other medical concepts. This is also kind of scary because it shows that women's pain had been underestimated and dismissed, and leads doubt on how many women are getting delayed diagnosis and less effective treatment than they deserve. Another study that supports this was published in the 2022 Harvard Health article. This article tells us that women have been historically underrepresented in cardiovascular research is done. And it also shows that, obviously we know chest discomfort is one of the most common symptoms found in both male and female patients. Female patients are also very likely to experience nausea, fatigue, and breathiness compared to the male patients. And now cardiovascular experts argue that these symptoms aren't just atypical, they have just been understudied. I don't know how many of you guys watch tennis, but even if you don't watch sports, you probably know about Serena Williams. She is the American former world #1 tennis player, who is also widely considered to be one of the greatest athletes of all time. In 2017, Serena Williams gave birth to her daughter, and soon after that, she recognized symptoms that suggest she had blood clots forming in her lungs, which is already a medical condition that she has experienced before. So obviously, she alerted the medical staff at the hospital to let them know that something was wrong and to go through specific tests. At first, her concerns were not really immediately acted upon. And later, when they did take the specific test, they found out that she was right, that she did have multiple blood clots growing in her lungs. And because of this, because of the delay, she had to go through additional treatment. This makes people doubt if Serena Williams, who is so wealthy and famous, who also has additional knowledge about her medical history, and yet she still struggles to get her concerns taken seriously. How many more women are they out there? How many more ordinary women are out there who don't really know what's going on with their bodies, have accepted the truth that they have gotten delayed treatment, or haven't even gotten the treatment that they needed at all? If women aren't even trusted when they say something that is wrong, it is not really surprising that they have also been expected to shoulder more of the responsibility of preventing pregnancy. Here's a photo of all the birth control available for women. You can see there's a good amount of choices, right? Pills, injections, implantations, IUDs, a total of more than 30. And here's a photo of the birth control available for men. 3 options. And one of the options, hormonal incompatibilities, isn't even proven efficiency enough to be on the market yet. 30 and 30? And I know when I say this, you might think, oh, doesn't this just show that women are more prioritized when it comes to healthcare? Because they have more options, right? But actually, in practice, more of these options are a burden to women because now they are more expected to take care of the responsibility for preventing pregnancy. And back to the birth control available for women. A lot of these hormonal contraceptives can cause side effects such as mood changes, headaches, higher risk to blood clots, and irregular bleeding. And yet a lot of people receive limited education about these risks or alternative options. 45% of American schools only teach their children, their students, about one type of birth control, and that's condoms. But not a lot of people know that even with perfect use, condoms only present 98% of pregnancy. And with regular use, it's around 82 to 87%. And at the same time, with these access to reproductive healthcare has actually become more restricted in some states, placing even more burden on the women. And now, I know that was a lot about inequality, so let's talk about equality. Gender equality isn't just about equal pay or equal opportunities. It's about something more fundamental. It's the right to receive equal care when our health, where our life is at stake. And just know that progress isn't going to happen just because we acknowledge the problem. It won't, and it hasn't. It only happens when people try and decide to question these old systems, request better research, and refuse to accept these irregular treatments as normal. And just because equality in healthcare is a woman's issue doesn't mean it's not a human issue. And the next breakthrough in healthcare shouldn't depend on your gender. And the next life saved shouldn't be dependent on whether someone believes in the symptoms or not. And the next generation shouldn't even have to be here to make the speech. So today, I asked you to do more than just remember these statistics and what I talked about. Challenge stereotypes when you see them. Support researchers that represents everybody. And listen when somebody says that the pain they're going through is real. And when you have the opportunity, vote, advocate, relieve. Choose the policies that make healthcare safer and more accessible for every single person. Thank you.
We appreciate it. Well, now you may open your social media, like Instagram, for 5 minutes. And suddenly you're being told you have to fix your hair. You have to fix your body. You have to fix your skin and do more skincare and look at your outfit. Don't look at the girls beside you. Don't look at the ladies. Well, gentlemen, you are in charge. At 16, Stanley is now looking at the unique cultural impact that is affect men as well as women. Stanley examines how social media and the virtual videos are spreading a cultural phenomenon to millions. Let's welcome Stanley.
I want everyone to raise your hand if you know what mewing is. Now I want you to keep it up if you know what it means to get mobbed. Or what it's like to call someone a sub 5. If you're an adult, your hand is probably down. If you're a teenage guy, you most likely know every single word I just said. This is looks maxing vocabulary. And today, I'll be telling you all what it is, what it's doing to boys my age, and why it was never about looks at all. So what is looks maxing? It's pretty straightforward. Looks maxing, maximizing your looks. On the surface, it sounds harmless, maybe even helpful. Drink more water, develop a skincare routine, hit the gym, or even fix your posture. This is examples of soft maxing, and to be honest, there's nothing wrong with it. If this sounds familiar to you all, it should. Girls have grown under appearance pressure for decades. What's different now is that this is targeted towards boys. Keep scrolling online and you'll find hard maxing, jaw implants, steroid usage, and teenagers researching leg lengthening operations. On some most extreme cases, there are practices like bone smashing, where boys will literally hit their own face because someone online told them that it would grow back stronger and sharper. The latest trend is peptides. Currently, teenagers are injecting substances bought off the internet for clearer skin, muscle growth, and fat loss. Here's what they don't know. There are no human studies proving that these are safe for long-term use, and there's little evidence that they even work. Many peptide companies will label their products as for research use only, a legal trick that skips FDA regulation and age checks entirely. Testing has also found that many of these peptides are either counterfeit or contain completely different substances than what the packaging states. Doctors also warn that using peptides at a young age can permanently disrupt puberty. Imagine this. A teenager finds a medicine cabinet online and reads YouTube comments about what each peptide does. Then, they begin injecting it in their body, in their bedroom, with zero medical supervision. That is what's happening to kids my age right now. They're running experiments on their own bodies, and it's coming straight from TikTok. And I want you guys to all understand that looks maxing is not just some tiny corner of the internet. One looks maxing forum gets about 6 million visitors a month, and on TikTok, the hashtag looks maxing gets about hundreds of thousands of videos. The summer before 9th grade, I began developing acne, which is one of the most normal things at the age of 13. In the beginning, I wasn't worried about it at all. I knew it was a normal thing, just like getting taller. But as time went on, my feed began filling up with looks maxing videos. People analyzing faces and rating each other on a numerical scale. It always came back to skin. If you had acne, that meant you were doomed. Society would view you as ugly and you would have to accept it. As I kept watching these videos, something inside me flipped. The way I viewed my acne completely changed. On the first day back to school, I began scanning my peers and friends' faces, and I quickly realized I was one of the only people in my grade who had it. As soon as I got home, I told my parents that I needed to see a dermatologist. Not because my skin hurt, but because the internet had told me countless times to be ashamed of it. So what's actually happening inside these looks-maxing communities? Well, a study out of Dalhousie University analyzed over 8,000 comments in a looks-maxing forum titled "When Help is Harmed." These looks-maxing forums promise self-improvement, and boys will post their own face asking, "How can I be better?" The communities will respond and dissect them. Your eyes are too round, your brow is just too flat, and even your face is cooked. Some other members were found saying, "Your body's disgusting and no one will ever love you." Boys who were named hopeless cases were told to give up entirely, meaning suicide. That's the help and self-improvement offered to these insecure boys. Doctors gave this result a name: masculine demoralization. They arrive for confidence and leave convinced that they're unhelpable. Again, we've seen this before. Women have been under appearance pressure for generations. Impossible beauty standards, reduced to looks, and only seen for their bodies. They spent decades of warning us what that does to a person, both physically and mentally. Yet we didn't learn. The internet took the same exact problem and pointed it towards teenage boys. Now, I'm not saying it matters now that it's boys. I'm saying we know exactly where this leads, because the women already told us. This is the real part that adults miss, and this is the real reason why I want to give this talk today. Looks-maxing is not just a beauty trend. The word comes from incel forums, involuntarily celibate men who blame women for their loneliness. A study out of Portsmouth University found that incel accounts rebranded their ideology as looks-maxing to beat content filters that hating women does not. Later on, Dalhousie University also found that these forums connect directly to the manosphere, a network of communities built on resentment. Incels, male supremacists, and white nationalists thrive. Now imagine this. A lonely boy searches for something innocent. How do I talk to girls? How do I get a better jawline? The algorithm hands him looks-maxing, and looks-maxing tells him what his face is worth. Once he believes his loneliness is genetic and permanent, the manosphere is right there waiting for an explanation. It's not your fault. It's the woman's fault. It's feminism. A major report found that 2/3 of young men say that no one really knows me. These communities are not waiting because their ideology is good. They're waiting because they offer a place of belonging for these kids. This looks-maxing stuff might sound abstract to you all, but there's a real person who shows exactly what this culture does to a kid when nobody tries to stop it. His name is Clavicular. Clavicular is one of the world's most famous looks-maxing influencers, and he's 20 years old. His real name is Braden Peters, and he grew up in Hoboken, New Jersey, less than an hour away from where I go to school. Millions of teenagers watch and copy his streams. He began looks-maxing at 14. 14! A freshman buying testosterone off the internet because they said that his body wasn't enough. After graduating high school, he attended Sacred Heart University in Connecticut. 3 weeks into the school year, he got expelled for the use of steroids. His parents eventually gave up on supporting him. He promotes bone smashing and is open about his usage of hard drugs like crystal meth to stay thin. In the looks-maxing world, nobody is a person. That girl in your class is a sub-5, and your taller friend is mobbing you. Once you start seeing the world like that, you're doing it to everyone else. You walk into a room and you begin sizing people up. Is he taller than me? Does he have a better jawline? It stops being about beating other people, and it starts being about looking good. You can't be friends with someone you're competing against. If you're a parent or teacher, please don't laugh at this. I know bone smashing sounds ridiculous, but when adults mock these things, boys don't stop doing it. They just stop telling you. Whoever's scrolling this content is lonely or insecure, and they need someone who will take their feelings seriously, even when the trend is absurd. In Nova Scotia, there's a company called Guys Work. They bring boys together and starting just in middle school to talk about pressure and masculinity norms. Remember, 2/3 of young men say that no one really knows me. This loneliness is what these hate communities feed on. But when a boy has real friends and people who actually know him, the manosphere has nothing to offer. I'm going to try to build something like Nova Scotia in my school, and I'm asking you to do it as well. Somewhere tonight, I want to end with an image. Somewhere tonight, there's a boy who's 13 years old. He searches up on his phone, how do I get a better jawline? I wouldn't say he's arrogant. He's just too embarrassed to say out loud, am I enough? The internet's answer will give him a number out of 10 and give him help that's actually making him worse. We can't totally remove these communities, but we can make sure he has somewhere real to bring these questions. People who won't see him as a statistic, but as a human. Thank you.
So far today, we are 0.5. So which might be a great time to take a breath, stand up, and just take a stretch. Well, in the meanwhile, we can also enjoy our speaker as well as our incredibly creative musician, Sunny Luo, to share her, out of her the flute, let's enjoy her piano performance as well. Welcome.
She's spoiling me. She brings me beverages. You better go home and your wife's gonna say, why are you going to Starbucks every day? You never used to do this. Well, I have to have a treat every day. So. Thank you. Hopefully they take it a little bit to heart. Oh, very nice. Nice to meet you.
It's adults too. It's not just guys, just children.
Sometimes the adults are worse than the kids.
There you go. So my daughter, I respect. Give 12 really. I don't blame you what I really do. It's only when I'm in the woods. I do it.
There are some people who maybe they don't just have fun.
Yeah.
They will do that for that purpose. Like when I'm in the forest, it's an emergency use on it.
That's it.
If you have to reach me, send me a message. Here's a text message. Here's where I last hiked in case a bear attacks me or something. You know, so it's a safety thing. But outside of that, leave me alone. I don't want to watch. Yeah. I'm so
3 hours, just enjoying different things, reading different books and listening to It's interesting. We have such a wide range of different topics. You got to hear the flute. Yeah. The men's room is upstairs. It's upstairs. Yeah. Yep. They converted a second women's room on this.
Hello. Testing. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay. Should I mute it now or?
We are about to start. Please be seated. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have a wonderful time interact and get to know each other. We're going to start the second half with something new. Let's give you a clue. It is something, it's about the food. It's grown. It's grain. It's Asian. It's not really famous in the United States. I mean, probably few of us have heard about it. But it actually feeds up half of the world. So it's feeding many parts of the world. That's exactly why my town is becoming curious about it. Diving into the culture of food, join me in welcoming my town.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Mike. Today I'm talking about the amazing food you've never heard of. So what this food is? It's called fonio. Has anyone heard about fonio? Put hands up. Not included the one I told you. Okay. So fonio, F-O-N-I-O. It's a crop from West Africa. And what it actually is, I'm gonna explain it right now. So it's really good for human health. It's low glycemic index, ensures slow digestion, and prevents sharp blood.
Sorry, I'm gonna stop you because you're not unmuted. You gotta unmute. Somebody have you restart. Sorry, everybody, pretend not to have heard of polio.
Never heard of.
Now we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, let's start again.
All right.
So, I guess you already heard about polio now. Okay, let's start about that. So, it's really good for human health. It's low glycemic index, ensures slow digestion, and prevents sharp sugar spikes, and naturally gluten-free. And the environmental resilience. It can thrive in poor, sandy soils, requires minimal water, and easily withstands surf droughts. So it grows really easily. And extraordinary utility. Microscopic grain size allows instant cooking later experience. So if you like that spice, we can talk about fonio. It actually can cook faster than instant rice. And can eat flavor really quick, totally flavored. And the original smell taste is really good too. It's subtle, earthy, and nutty flavor. And the next slide, we're gonna show a video about a chef from West Africa who cooking about fonio. I guess the video is not working. Okay, so let's just quickly start it. So actually, fonio is very nutritious and it cooks fast. But we can never see in United States. So once I went to Walmart, I noticed that most of the products are made from potato and wheat and rice, those kind of food. But not included fonio. So there's some reason about that. Fonio is missing from America because it fundamentally rejects the mechanics of American industrial agriculture. So we didn't grow a lot food in West Africa. They just have some local food there. And in America, we have corn, wheat, potato, and we're really dominant the local markets. And fonio really hard to get in here. And also, the industrial cannot withstand with fonio. And because fonio is really small, the grain of fonio is really small, even smaller than rice. So the mechanic will completely crush fonio into dust. And it already processing by hand for centuries. So it's really hard to transfer from traditional way to process fonio to the modern way to process fonio. And that's why we're talking about that. And this slide shows And rice, wheat, and potatoes per pound are actually really cheap. But fonio, I'm looking on Walmart, is much more expensive. It's $12.35 per pound. So that's why nobody tried it. Because why am I gonna try the food I never had before? And even expensive than the one I always try. And it's no reason for me. Another reason is the global scientific funding. Funding is historically neglected. And big agribusiness is ignored, and higher sea development is really lack. They are stuck on traditional basics, and ultimate harvesting tools is not allowed to. And 41% of all potatoes products they are available for human consumption are frozen. They are dominant almost all the market. A shocking one. And the use as food supply is hyper optimized to extract massive profits from wheat, corn, and potato. They can already make a lot of profit from it. And if they're gonna do fonio, they're gonna throw a lot of money in there. So that's a bigger cycle. The potato, corn, and wheat. They're making more profit, and they're growing more, and they're making more profit. And fonio cannot get into this cycle. It's get away from there. But actually, the structural fiction of the American agriculture machine is beginning to crack. And international society is actively awakening to fonio's unmatched commercial and environmental potential. And the chef Fantamata, the chef, I was going to show you the video, but you didn't actually watch it. She and another chef actually working really hard on let more people know about fonio, and let more people know the advantage about fonio. So the path up to step. Step 1 is specialized milling. Step 2 is price compression. And step 3 is mainstream adoption. The American agricultural machine was built for the reliable climates and commercial crops of the past. As extreme weather accelerates and health needs evolve, fonio sprouts resistance and nutritional profile shifted from a commercial curiosity to a global necessity. Pay attention to the sugar. And I hope you learned about fonio from my speech today. And I hope you guys can try to look up online, see anything you don't know, and try to do research about it. And also you can try fonio when you're at home, after you listen to this speech, if you are interested in. Thank you.
Sometimes, as simple as daily food can tell us where we come from. Music, videos, trends, memes, sometimes the whole world just in one screw away. When we became more closer, connected by the internet, our culture became more alike. Lucy Zhang is going to teach us about how cultural identity construction themselves as a time of change and repeat of developing technologies. Social media is bringing us closer, as also make us think about the world. What do we keep that make us different? Let's join us with a TEDx welcome for Lucy Zhang. Before I begin,
please raise your hand if you have ever had boba tea. Now keep your hand raised and raise your hand if you have ever listened to K-pop. Now, if you have ever opened TikTok. Take a look around the room. We are all connected by pieces of culture that may not have originated from where we live. As a Chinese American, that realization made me wonder, if we are all growing up on the same internet, are our cultures becoming the same, or are they simply finding new ways to survive? For me personally, I speak Chinese with my parents. We celebrate Lunar New Year, eat foods that remind my parents of home, and hold on to traditions that have been passed down for generations. But when I open my phone, I'm watching the same videos as millions of teenagers around the world, in English. People often ask me what it's like growing up between two cultures. But I'm here to tell them that I'm growing up in three. The culture I live in, the culture I inherited, and the culture created by the internet. This leads to the crucial point of today. Social media is making cultures more similar than before, yet people are becoming more protective of their cultural identities at the same time. Before the internet, if a trend started in one country, it could take months or even years for it to reach another. Now, someone in Seoul can post a video in the morning, and by the evening, people in New York or London may be recreating it. One example is music. 20 years ago, most teenagers mainly listened to artists from their own country. Today, K-pop has fans worldwide, Latin music tops global charts, and songs become international hits through TikTok before they even play on the radio. Instead of music staying within one culture, it travels across borders almost instantly. Food is another example of culture traveling. Foods like matcha, Dubai chocolate, and sushi have become widely available across the world. For most people, and myself as well, social media was their first introduction to these foods. Food becomes a gateway into another culture, but it also becomes part of everyday life in places far from where it originated. Researchers like Roland Robertson sometimes describe this as cultural convergence, which is the idea that as globalization increases, different societies begin to adopt similar ideas and behaviors. This leads me to ask, if we are becoming more alike, then why are people becoming more proud of their cultural identities at the same time? The first point is that people are using social media to preserve culture as well, and not just consume it. Before social media, preserving culture happened mainly within families and local communities. Now, anyone can post cultural festivals online. Anyone can post cultural festivals and traditional dances online. And instead of these traditions staying local, now it can reach millions of people across the world. To add on, UNESCO has emphasized that digital platforms can help support cultural understanding and provide new ways for communities to share and preserve their culture online. This leads to my second point, where instead of culture being passed down only from grandparents to grandchildren, now young creators are teaching culture online as well. Growing up, I would always look forward to the Lunar New Year. I remember walking to the kitchen and seeing my parents preparing dish after dish, filling the house with familiar smells and foods that represented traditions. The celebration would continue late into the night, filled with memories, filled with laughter, conversations, and stories that connected me to generations before me. One of my favorite memories was sitting with my grandparents as they taught me about red envelopes. They explained how red envelopes symbolize good fortune for the new year. To me, it was never just a red envelope with money inside. Being a part of a tradition that has been passed down for generations was more important. I also remember a game that my mom would create every year. She would secretly hide a coin inside one of the dumplings we made, and whoever found the dumpling with the coin inside was considered to be lucky for the upcoming year. At the time, I thought it was just a fun game my mom created to make everyone excited. But as I grew older, I realized that it represented something much deeper. Through small moments like making dumplings together, sharing meals, and hearing my grandparents' stories, I wasn't just celebrating a holiday. I was learning my culture. But today, that's no longer the only way that people can learn about culture. It can be learned through a phone screen by people thousands of miles away. Now, someone who's never been to China can learn how to make dumplings from a creator in Shanghai, understand the symbolism behind red envelopes from a Chinese-American creator in California, or watch Lunar New Year celebrations from communities across the world, all in a span of a few minutes. For generations, culture depended on geography and family. Today, it also depends on social media's algorithms. This leads to my main idea that social media isn't replacing the traditions that families teach. It's changing who has access to them. Traditions that were once passed around a dinner table can now reach millions of people across continents. A metaphor that captures this idea is a healthy tree doesn't choose between growing new branches and keeping its roots. It needs both. I really like this metaphor because a tree is constantly changing. Every year, it grows new branches, new leaves, and adapts to its environment. In the same way, we grow through new friendships, experiences, and cultures. But no matter how many branches a tree grows, its roots remain essential. The roots provide stability, nourishment, and a connection to where the tree began. Overall, social media has made the world feel smaller. Every day, we are invited into cultures that once felt distant. Our identities don't become stronger by shutting other cultures out. They become stronger by knowing where we come from, staying curious about where others come from, and carrying both with us. Maybe the question isn't whether we are becoming Maybe the question isn't whether the world is becoming one culture. Maybe it's whether we are becoming one connected world without forgetting the stories that made each culture unique. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. We are always talking about AI, never be stopped. Do we still remember how many years AI have come up to the world? Well, around 6 years, isn't that? I think all the young people have the experience that teaching your grandparents how to use a smartphone. Right. So, well, right now, today, we learn a lot what is AI and how we use AI. Even the computer science major, they're learning how to build up the AI. Well, next speaker is Kyle Yao. He has been interested in AI since it was the first introduced to the world, maybe when he was still in middle or elementary school. Growing up with AI, he wanted to teach all of us how can we use AI not for the sake, but to use it well. Ladies and gentlemen, let us give us our biggest applause to Kyle Yao, and let's learn together how to use AI.
Hey ChatGPT,
Can you help me write my essay?
hey Gemini, generate
Me an image.
Can you help me?
Summarize this article. What is the answer to number 6? Can you help me study for a test? For many people in my generation, this is a normal AI conversation starter. Some people hear this and automatically think lazy. Others think we're witnessing the greatest technological breakthrough in history. So who's right and who's wrong? In one of my finance classes, we were assigned to pitch a stock. AI wasn't banned, but rather encouraged. So students automatically opened up ChatGPT and typed in, make me a presentation. And within seconds, a fully detailed PowerPoint with slides, speaker notes, and charts that were extremely professional was generated. Well, when it came to our mentors asking us simple questions like, where do we get this revenue projection from, or what valuation model do we use, the room went silent. The slides were detailed, but the understanding was completely gone. So much for faking it till you make it. On the other hand, we had other groups who couldn't even get AI to do what they wanted to do. They asked AI prompts, And in response, he got a vague response. See, those teams became increasingly frustrated with AI, and they said technology didn't work. The difference between a useful answer and a useless one isn't the intelligence of the machine, but rather the clarity of the question from the speaker. We spend a lot of time asking ourselves whether AI makes students smarter or lazier. I think we're asking the wrong question. The real question is whether we're teaching people how to think with AI instead of AI thinking for us. When we don't understand something, it feels like magic. But once we understand how it works, that magic disappears and that skill takes its place. This reminds me of an assignment that almost everyone did in elementary school, PB&J. The peanut butter and jelly lesson wasn't about the sandwich, but rather about communication. And the same applies to AI. The better we communicate, the better results we get. This raises an interesting question. If AI is simply a tool, then why do people experience it so differently? The answer, I believe, has less to do with artificial intelligence itself and more with the generations experiencing it. What's fascinating is that every generation is looking at the exact same technology, yet we all have different viewpoints of it. Starting off with the baby boomers. AI can feel unfamiliar or unsettling because it challenges the way they learned how to problem solve and find information. With Gen X, they often see it as another productivity tool, much like the internet that transformed the workplace decades ago. Then we have millennials, in which they grew up with Google and smartphones. So the next logical step is adapting with AI. Now here comes my generation, Gen Z. We don't just use technology, we grew up with it. We have long conversations. We can ask AI to explain a concept, brainstorm ideas, debug code, and even help us prepare for interviews. In fact, around 50% of Gen Zs use generative AI every single week, and 1 in 5 Gen Zs use AI every single day. See, AI isn't just a trend, it's becoming ingrained in our daily lives. The problem here is that just because my generation uses AI the most, doesn't mean we know how to use it the best. There's probably Gen Alphas in this crowd today. I asked a few younger students what their thought on AI was, and I was surprised. One said it was useless, and it never answers my question. At first, I thought we were criticizing the technology, but then when I stepped back and looked at it, maybe AI isn't the problem. Maybe it's that we never taught how to ask a correct question. Regardless of how each generation uses AI, one thing remains true. AI is a powerful tool, and every powerful tool can be used well or be misused. One of the biggest concerns surrounding AI today isn't the technology itself. It's whether what happens when we allow it to replace our thinking instead of supporting it. Just last month, a professor from Brown University became suspicious after students scored unusually high on a take-home midterm economics exam. When he gave the final exam in person, scores dramatically dropped, and he was quite surprised. His concern wasn't that students simply had access to AI, but rather they could no longer demonstrate the knowledge without doing it on their own. And this isn't just an isolated story. Another professor decided to test how students were using AI on an assignment by hiding an invisible prompt into the assignment. Students who copied the assignment also copied a hidden set of instructions prompted by the professor. When the student submitted their assignment, many of them had the exact word the teacher planted. The word was Madagascar. See, these students weren't caught because AI was wrong. They were caught because they trusted in the technology too much and didn't understand what it was doing. Ironically, I experienced this first-handedly in the same finance class as mentioned earlier. We were doing our presentations, and one of our mentors then stopped and asked our team, "What is whack?" At first, I thought this dude was joking with us. He's probably trying to catch us off guard. But then I saw the PowerPoint, and it was right in front of the first slide. Whack. AI had made it, and we had copied it. But thank God it was a practice round. Otherwise, we would have been cooked. See, that moment made me realize something. AI didn't fail us, but we failed to question it. When we stop reading carefully, stop asking why, and always assume AI is right, we aren't just using it as a tool anymore. We're using it to outsource information and replace our brains. See, if I stop a conversation here, AI sounds less like a tool and more like witchcraft. But as history says, magic often becomes the ordinary once we understand how it works. See, AI doesn't automatically make us smarter, but once we understand how to guide it, ask it questions, and challenge its response, it can push our thinking much further. The key to doing this hasn't really been taught in school, but it's called prompting. Back to my peanut butter and jelly exercise, prompting works the exact same way with the exact same principle. Clarity. Good prompting is not only giving AI detailed instructions, but also knowing what questions to ask, what assumptions to challenge, and what answers should not immediately be trusted. That's why when I think of prompting, I don't think of simply just typing into ChatGPT. I think it's a form of communication. More importantly, a form of critical thinking. For example, instead of asking AI to explain climate change, ask it to argue your opinion, or ask it to challenge one of your reasonings. Point out a weakness in your argument. AI isn't just giving you an answer anymore, it's forcing you to defend your answer. So AI acts less like a search engine and more like a debate partner. AI can also personalize education in ways we have never seen before. Some people understand different materials visually, others need analogies or a step-by-step explanation. A teacher with 30 students in a class can't create 30 different lesson plans, but with AI, it can. It can teach accounting like you're playing sports, calculus like you're 5 years old, and chemistry like you're cooking. The lessons stay the exact same, but the unique and explanation adapts to the learner. See, even something as simple as brainstorming can become even more meaningful. Instead of asking AI, write me an essay, ask it, what perspectives am I missing? What's the strongest counter-argument to my claim? Those type of questions can't replace your thinking, but they actually expand it, and that's the difference. When I think of AI literacy, people normally think of just typing to ChatGPT and knowing how to operate it. I don't. I think AI literacy means knowing how to ask better questions, verifying the answers when you receive them, recognizing when AI is wrong, and more importantly, understanding when not to use AI. AI shouldn't replace your thinking, but it should challenge it, it should improve it, and expand further. And if that's the future we want, then maybe the real question isn't if students should use AI. The better question, why aren't we teaching them how? Thank you.
We have learned many speeches about various cultures and how we can learn from the young speakers today. Ellen is going to pull all of this together and talk about how we can all participate in engagement and advocacy. Let's join Ellen as we look to get involved. Welcome.
Gen Z is cooked. You've definitely heard the sentiment being echoed before. Maybe you've heard it on Reels, maybe you've heard it on TikTok. Maybe a parent or teacher said it to you. Maybe you've even said it yourself. We are the lazy generation. We can't focus for more than 15 seconds. We don't have any ambition, and we don't want to work real jobs. We joke about it too. We'll look at the ever-rising median housing prices in the US, or the new AI tools that come out every day, and joke about never being able to afford a home or have a proper job. At some point, I started questioning myself. Are we really cooked? The more I thought about it, the less it seemed to add up. I realized that while everyone was telling me what my generation was failing at, I wasn't actually seeing it. In fact, earlier this summer, I was at a place that directly contradicted almost everything people had been saying. FBLA's National Leadership Conference in San Antonio, Texas. For For those who may be unfamiliar with FBLA, or Future Business Leaders of America, is a student-led organization focused on, leadership and business. This membership year, FBLA grew from around 210,000 members to 230,000 student members. Other student-led clubs were no different. DECA, or Distributed Education Clubs of America, and Future Farmers of America, an organization focused on agriculture and leadership, also grew, with DECA growing to around 316,000 members and FFA growing to around 1.04. These clubs aren't just school clubs. They're built on leadership, entrepreneurship, and actually going out and doing things. These students chose to be here. They weren't here because they were forced to. They gave up their own free time to play, to develop projects that might not even succeed. They chose to be here. Does that sound like a generation that doesn't care about its future? My answer is no. So where is this ambition going? Because it's clearly not going to the traditional paths that will cause other generations to say, hey, maybe Gen Z isn't unambitious. Well, my answer to this is something simple. Us as Gen Z have grown up on social media. We've watched people make their own paths rather than follow the traditional ones. Think about your favorite influencers. We watch them turn their audiences into businesses. We watch them start companies and earn millions by doing hobbies. Because of this, Gen Z has traditionally chose creation over the corporate ladder. Think about it. How many people do you know that pursue content creation, e-commerce, dropshipping, or day trading? My answer would probably be a lot. I know a lot of people who have tried dropshipping and have tried day trading and have tried content creation. Some of them successful and some of them not. Think about the number of different profiles you see on Instagram and TikTok that are selling courses on how to successfully day trade or dropship. The ambition is still there. The funny thing is, the distance between having an idea and having actions and being able to do something about the idea is smaller than it's ever been before. Think about it. We have more tools than 99% of all humans in human history. You can start a business from your bedroom. You can learn to code online, and you can make apps without having any technical experience. Think about the phone in your pocket right now. That phone gives you access to more information and communication than 99% of all humans in human history. You can communicate with anyone, you can create anything, and you can do literally anything with it. But these tools don't have a conscious choice to make. We have the conscious choice to make. And often we use these tools for the wrong reasons. We'll use our phones to scroll social media, to watch videos, and to compare ourselves to others. While instead, we could be using them to create something. The same Instagram that lets you see other people's lives can help you create an audience for yours. The same YouTube that tells you someone else's success story can help you shape your own story. And the same ChatGPT that allows you to help the same ChatGPT that helps you with your homework can allow you to make a tool to help others with theirs. So we have a conscious choice to make. Another thing that I find really interesting is that we have an opportunity that no other generation has had. We don't just have access to information, we have access to distribution. If you enjoy something, you can find other people who enjoy it too. If you want to make something, you can find people to buy it. If you want to talk about something, you can find an audience right from the screen, a 12-inch screen that you have in your pocket. You don't need $1 million corporation behind you anymore. You don't need a recording label, you don't need a corporation, you don't need a big team behind you. All you need now is a phone, an internet connection, and an idea. So, what's really stopping us? If we have the ambition and we have the tools, why are we not seeing some of the same results that past generations have saw? Well, in my idea, it's mostly us. Think about it. Us as Gen Z, we've been told since we were young, we were supposed to follow the traditional ladder. Go to college, get a degree, earn money, earn a stable income, raise a family, and get promoted through corporate ladder. But at the same time, we're being told that we're lazy, sensitive, unmotivated, cooked for the future. So, these frameworks that other people impose on us cause us to limit our own ability and own passions. The other day, I was talking to one of my friends who has 120,000 followers on TikTok posting piano content. I asked him, what really inspired you to start posting? What made you think you could succeed? We were car riding, and this was just a random question I had in my head while I was driving around. I expected him to give me this fancy answer about having these frameworks, having this idea, having this really detailed plan about how he was going to make a brand and how he was going to make money. But he turned to me, he shrugged and said, Honestly, it was just for fun. I did it for fun. I just started posting. I stopped overthinking. And then one of his videos went super viral. It really changed how I thought about success, and it's something that has stuck with me ever since that conversation. When successful people aren't the ones with the most detailed plan or the longest time spent planning it out. They're often the people who actually stop thinking, go out, and actually attempt it. The only way you're going to truly learn something is if you experience the failures and be able to build off of those. The point is, if you want to follow traditional paths, I tell you to go for it. There's nothing wrong with going down the traditional path of climbing the corporate ladder. If that's what you really want in life, you should go for it 100%. But there's no blueprint. Some of us will be doctors. Some of us in this room will become doctors. Some will become engineers. Some will become artists. Some will work in careers that never existed before. And some of us will change our minds halfway through. And that's okay. Because success doesn't mean owning the biggest company or making the most money. It means being able to identify what you really want to do in life and actually pursue it to an extent that you're happy with. Sometimes leadership will look huge. Ambition will look huge, like running for office, starting a company, leading a movement. But most of the time, it's something way smaller. It's about starting a club, helping someone out, speaking up about something, or just being the first person to risk failing. Being the first person in that room, in that board, to say, hey, this isn't working, let's try something else. So, before I leave you guys, I would like to leave you with something that Jalen Brunson once said. You guys know Jalen Brunson? He said this after coming back from the greatest deficit in NBA Finals history. You're allowed to think about the worst possible scenario, but then you've got to go out there and do something about it. I think that's exactly what us as Gen Z need to hear. We can think about the future. We can think about AI taking our jobs. We can think about the economy, and we can think about if the American dream is still alive. We can think about if the American dream will be alive when we're old enough to reach it. We're allowed to think about that scenario, even if it's the worst possible one. But the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we have full control over. So, I urge you, if you ever find yourself thinking about the future and being filled with dread, stop overthinking, stop thinking of the what ifs and what haves, and actually go out to do it. Advocate, create, lead, start a business, run for office, build a nonprofit, start something, help someone, get on that stage and give a TED Talk about something that you're personally passionate about. Or do literally anything else that moves the world one step closer to where you want to see it. Maybe Gen Z is cooked, but I don't think so, and I'm not willing to find out by doing absolutely nothing. So ladies and gentlemen, don't just think about the world, don't just worry about the future. Go out there and build it. Thank you.
Genius is never cooked. We are amazingly growing up, and we are standing on the stage, and everybody's clapping for us. Genius is changing the world as well as the Gen Alpha. So our final speaker, who is also from the Gen Z Alpha, she's gonna bring us a most unique perspective and insight of the culture we mostly are not really familiar with. Well, from yesterday, our rehearsal, some students see the title, The Teacher. So we are starting to question about what the teacher gonna be like that happy. Let's welcome Anna Venice Chen for sharing her idea as 1,200-pound teachers. Welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, one more clap for her.
Did you notice what just shifted in my body? Raise your hand if you did. Most of you didn't. But if I were sitting on a 1,200-pound animal right now, that 1 inch shift in my shoulder and hip would have signaled my horse to turn. And he would have done it. No yelling, pulling, or dramatic gestures. Just a micro signal. When most people picture riding a horse, they think of movie scenes. Cowboys yelling, rein snapping, or riders kicking hard. But in real riding, if you have to pull and kick hard, you've already lost your true connection. To ask a trained horse to walk, all it takes is a gentle closing of the calves, roughly the same amount of pressure it takes to hold a single sheet of paper between your fingers without crumpling it. A horse is like a mirror, reflecting every signal your body sends. Because they are prey animals, they are Did you notice what just shifted in my body position? Raise your hand if you did. Most of you didn't. But if I were sitting on a 1,200-pound animal right now, that 1 inch shift in my shoulder and hip would have signaled my horse to turn. And he would have done it. No yelling, pulling, or dramatic gestures. Just a micro signal. When most people picture riding a horse, they think of movie scenes. Cowboys yelling, rein snapping, or riders kicking hard. But in real riding, if you have to pull and kick hard, you've already lost your true connection. To ask a trained horse to walk, all it takes is a gentle closing of the calves. Roughly the same amount of pressure it takes to hold a single sheet of paper between your fingers without crumpling it. A horse is like a mirror, reflecting every signal your body sends. Because they are prey animals, their survival for millions of years has depended on reading raw, physical data in a fraction of a second. They feel a fly land on their flank. They feel your muscle tension shift before you even realize you're tense. And they feel your heart rate spike from 6 feet away. Horses don't just see how you move on the outside. They feel every micro signal on the inside. I have spent 12 years in the saddle learning this language. My dad first put me out on a horse when I was just 1 year old, and I began taking formal riding lessons at 4. My passion and curiosity for horses has taken me far beyond the arena. From delivering a youth speech at the United Nations, addressing lawmakers at the Massachusetts State House, organizing Veterinary Youth Day with a local animal shelter to advocate for greater youth access to veterinary science, and conducting my own original research on how music can affect stress and cortisol levels in horses. Through thousands of hours, riding, researching, and competing, horses have taught me something that changes the way I look at everything. Because our bodies communicate long before our words do, pretending to be calm or present creates distance, while total biological honesty is the only way to build real trust. The science behind why horses demand this complete physiological honesty is incredible, and it begins on their skin. Horses' skin contains highly sensitive touch receptors that can detect a force of less than 0.1 grams, roughly equivalent to a few mosquitoes resting on its skin. When a rider sits in the saddle, every shift of the pelvis and change in balance is transmitted through the saddle to the horse's back. Horses can also respond to changes in our posture, tension, and body language, sometimes even before we are aware of them ourselves. Researchers have found that during some human-horse interactions, patterns in the horses' and humans' heart rate variability can become physiologically synchronized. The science is still developing, but it suggests that our connection with horses may be not only reflected in changes in movement and behavior, but also in measurable changes within our bodies. As prey animals, horses rely on neuroception, their subconscious threat detection system, to read internal physiological states rather than external behavior, instantly sensing hidden tension or anxiety. If my conscious brain is trying to calm my body, but my subconscious body is clenching and holding its breath, the horse registers a red flag. To a prey animal, hiding your true state feels like a predator sneaking up on them. Fake calm feels like an ambush. We've all been nervous before a big moment, whether it's sports, music, or an exam. I've been there. Before entering the competition ring with my horse, the pressure was real. But I knew that the smallest signals could create the biggest outcomes. If my heart was racing and my body was tense, that could change everything. Instead of fighting my anxiety, however, I talked myself down and truly centered my mind. When I entered the arena, I wasn't just pretending to be composed. I was actually calm. Horses feel everything. Because I brought real peace into that ring, I gave my horse the confidence to trust me, and therefore, we were able to achieve our goals. When your inside state doesn't match your outside signal, the horse does not trust you. He backs away, resists, or panics, not because he's being bad, but because he trusts what your body feels over what your face shows. This isn't just a rule for working with horses. We create that exact same distance with each other every day when we pretend to be present. Think about how we interact at home or at school. Before a teacher even begins a lesson, students can tell whether they're calm or totally overwhelmed. At home, when a parent says, "Everything's fine," but their jaw is set and their body is rigid, kids know instantly that it's not fine. And kids do it right back. We say, "I'm good," or "I don't care," while our hands are fidgeting and our shoulders are hunched. Think about how many hugs we give and receive each week. Neurobiologists claim that when two people share a genuine, welcome hug, their bodies can read that touch as a signal of safety, and stress may begin to ease. But we've all felt a fake hug. The stiff shoulders, the held breath. Your words say, "It's so good to see you." But your body says, I'm closed. When we say one thing and feel another, we don't build trust. We build distance. Understanding the difference between fake words and true biological honesty matters right now more than ever, because my generation is growing up alongside artificial intelligence. AI can write essays, compose music, generate hyper-realistic videos, and type out a perfect response for almost any situation. In an age where technology can generate endless text, words alone are becoming cheap. Anyone and any computer can generate a polished message or say the right thing. But AI has no nervous system to signal real safety. It has no heartbeat to synchronize with yours. And it has no lungs to take a deep, shared exhale. As technology handles more of our written and verbal communication, human connection won't be defined by how clever or perfect our words are. Instead, it will be defined by whether our words, body language, and actions truly align. Let me share a story with you about my horse, Devin. When I first met him, I convinced my parents he was the one. Why? Because when I looked into his eyes, he sent a quiet, subtle signal saying, "I like you." Then, during our test ride, he gave me another small signal, a steady, patient balance that said, "Trust me, I'll help you grow." Devin and I only had 3 weeks to prepare for a nationally recognized dressage competition, and we exceeded everyone's expectations. In that short time, Devin taught me a profound lesson. Small signals can create the greatest connections, which allowed us to achieve goals far bigger than ourselves. If a 1,200-pound horse demands complete biological honesty before he'll give me his trust, shouldn't we demand that same honesty from ourselves? We don't need to hide behind fake smiles or safe, scripted answers. We just need to be real with each other. So here's my challenge. First, make sure that your words and signals truly align. To teachers and parents, don't pretend everything's fine when you're stressed or upset. Young people usually sense it anyways. Students, don't say, "I'm fine," when you need support. Be honest, so your words, tone, and body language are not sending different signals. Second, show up fully in the moments that matter. The next time you hug your kid, parent, or friend, don't just go through the motions. Put down what you're holding, drop your shoulders, exhale, and just be there in that moment. Humans, just like horses, don't just hear the words you pick. They feel the truth behind them. Match your outside with your inside. Be genuine, and let your smallest signals create your greatest connections. I am forever grateful to my 1,200-pound teacher. Thank you.
All right, one more round of applause for all of my TEDx speakers. I get the privilege to work in the education arena, where I get to talk to parents after their students have been successful at a debate tournament or a special event like this. And almost universally, they say the same thing, which is, I feel good about the next generation. I feel like there's hope in a hopeless world, in a polarized world. And I don't know about you, but I personally feel wonderful about this generation after hearing these TEDx talks. Thank you again for being here. Please take some time, spend with the speakers afterward, and congratulate them for a job well done. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you, everyone. The award ceremony is tonight at 7. We start at 7:30. We could have giving out the TEDx award first. I will start at 8. Everybody end at 7:30. Well, 2 students need to record. We do that. Kyle and the mic. With mic. Oh, no. Casual. Tonight, award ceremony, it's casual, okay? Everybody dress up, you're beautiful. We have a party, inflatable party house outside. Join around. The barbecue is outside. Everyone welcome the barbecue. The barbecue, and then Kyle, you want to introduce the Kyle? Kyle, you ready? Oh yes, barbecue bowl. 现在已经吃，但是你跟我说，你先把你的录完，人家要吃，要Counselor.
Yeah, just walking.
老换房间，这不是我们的房间，我让他先走了，那我不知道。
是好给你
麦上面。
Okay.
Yuki, I stepped on gum. Stepped on gum.
Oh.
On the stage or was it on the floor?
I don't know, I was like on the carpet and I was like, why is it so sticky?
Oh, it might be cheap.
What was it on?
It is a gum. Oh, gross. Gross! Why? Okay, you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, can I have the presentation?
Oh, yes.
And the clicker. Well, like, was my piece good? Should I slow down?
Okay, come here. Your mic is like, you're holding the mic.
Still sticky?
Hello? Alright.
Still?
Pretty good.
Where is it with it? Oh, it's over here. Hang on, I got it. That's okay. All right.
Hey ChatGPT, help me write my essay. Hey Gemini, can you generate me an image? Can you help me summarize this article? What is the answer to number 6? Can you help me study for a test? For many people in my generation, this is a normal conversation starter with an AI chatbot. Some people hear this prompt and automatically think we're lazy. Others think we're witnessing the greatest technological breakthrough in history. So who's right and who's wrong? In my finance class, we were assigned to pitch a stock. AI wasn't banned, but rather encouraged. Some students typed in to ChatGPT, make me a presentation. And within seconds, a fully built presentation with slides, speaker notes, and charts that looked extremely professional was generated. When it came to our mentors asking us simple questions like, what evaluation model do we use? How do we get this revenue projection? The room went silent. The slides were there. Well, the understanding wasn't. In another situation, there were teams who couldn't even get AI to do what they wanted. They asked AI vague prompts, and in response, they got vague feedback. They became increasingly frustrated with technology because it wasn't working. The difference between a useful answer and a useless one isn't often the intelligence of the machine, but rather the clarity of the person asking the question. We spend a lot of time asking whether AI makes students smarter or lazier, but I think we're asking the wrong question. The real question is whether we're teaching people how to think with AI instead of AI thinking for them. When we don't understand something, it feels like magic. But once we understand it, the magic fades away and the skill takes its place. This reminds me of an assignment almost everyone did in elementary school, PB&J. The peanut butter and jelly lesson wasn't about the sandwich, but more about the communication. The same thing applies with AI. The better we communicate, the better response we get. This raises an interesting question. If AI is simply just a tool, why do people see it so differently? The answer, I believe, has less to do with artificial intelligence itself and the generations experiencing it. What is fascinating is that every generation looks at the exact same technology, yet we're seeing completely different things. At first, baby boomers can feel unfamiliar or even unsettling because AI challenges the way they learn how to find information and problem solve. For Gen X, they often see it as another productivity tool, much as the internet transformed the workplace decades ago. Millennials grew up with Google and smartphones, so the next logical step would be adapting to AI. But then there's my generation, Gen Z. We don't just use technology, we grew up with technology, and we have full-on conversations with it every single day. In fact, we can ask ChatGPT or any AI model to explain concepts, brainstorm ideas, debug code, and even help us prepare for interviews. See, in fact, nearly 50% of Gen Zs use AI almost every week, and 1 in 5 Gen Zers use it every single day. But here's the problem. Just because my generation knows how to use AI the most, doesn't mean we know how to use it the best. There are probably members of Gen Alpha in this room today. When I asked a few younger students what their thought on AI was, it was surprisingly shocking. One of them said it was useless and it never gives me the correct answer. At first, I thought they were criticizing the technology, but then I realized something. Maybe it's not the AI's problem. Maybe it's that no one had taught them to ask better questions. Regardless of how each generation views AI, one thing remains true. Every powerful tool can be used very well or misused. One of the biggest concerns surrounding AI today isn't the technology itself. It's what happens when we allow it to replace our thinking instead of supporting it. Just last month, a professor from Brown University became suspicious after his students earned unusually high scores on his take-home midterm economics exam. When he gave his final exam in person, scores dropped dramatically. His concern wasn't students had access to AI, but rather they could no longer demonstrate the knowledge on their own. And this isn't just an isolated story. Another professor decided to test how students were using AI by hiding an invisible prompt inside an assignment. A student who copied the assignment also copied the directions into AI chatbots unknowingly. When they submitted their work, many of the responses contained the exact word hidden by the professor in which they planted. The word was Madagascar. See, students weren't caught because AI made a mistake. They were caught because they trusted the technology too much and they didn't understand what it was actually doing. Ironically, I experienced this first-handedly in the same finance class as mentioned earlier. We were doing our presentations and one of our mentors stopped us and asked, "What's whack?" At first, I thought he was messing with us. He'd probably made something up. But then I looked at the presentation and it said it right in front of our slides. AI made it, we had copied it, but that made me realize something. AI didn't fail us. Maybe we failed to question it. Thank God it was only a practice round. Otherwise, we would have been cooked. See, when we stop reading carefully, stop asking why, and assume AI is always right, we're not just using it as a tool anymore. We're using it to outsource information and to replace our brains instead. AI can be treated less like a tool. No, if we stop the conversation here, AI is less like a tool and more like witchcraft. But history has often taught us that magic often becomes the ordinary once we understand how it works. AI automatically doesn't make us smarter, but once we know how to guide it, question it, and challenge its response, it can push us to think further. The key thing to doing this begins with one skill that most schools don't talk about, and it's called prompting. Remember the peanut butter and jelly?
Just pause, we can slice it. Hang on. Let me get back to your. Is it this one?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
Just
not
restart the
anymore.
slide. Yeah, not a problem. Or do you want to redo the witchcraft one?
I'll leave it. The speaker notes are gone. Okay. Yeah. We can start from here. Yeah.
Hang on. I guess the screen is tired too.
Yeah.
We're almost there. It's pretty good. Much better than the voice is sounding.
Okay, so you can either redo this one or you can just advance to the next one and start from
Redo this
there.
one.
Okay.
See, if we stop the conversation here, AI sounds less like a tool and more like witchcraft. But history has often told us that magic often becomes ordinary once we understand how it works. See, AI automatically doesn't make us smarter, but once we understand how to guide it, how to question it, how to challenge its response, it can push us to think further. The key thing to doing this begins with a skill that most schools don't teach us about. It's called prompting. Remember the peanut butter and jelly exercise from earlier? Well, prompting runs on the same exact principle, clarity. But good prompting isn't only giving AI detailed instructions, it's also knowing what questions to ask, what assumptions to challenge, and what answers should not be trusted immediately. That's why I don't think prompting is just simply typing into OpenAI or any chatbot. It's a form of communication, and more importantly, it's a form of critical thinking. For example, instead of asking AI to explain climate change, ask it to argue against your opinion. Ask it to challenge your reasoning or point out weaknesses in your argument. AI isn't just going to give you answers anymore. It's going to force you to defend your answer. AI acts less like a search engine and more like a debate partner. AI can also personalize education in ways we have never seen before. Some people understand through visuals, while others use analogies or step-by-step explanations. A teacher with 30 students can't simply create 30 different lesson plans in one period, but with AI, it can. AI can explain accounting like sports, or chemistry through cooking, or calculus like you're 5 years old. The lessons stay the same, but the explanation adapts to different learners. Even something as simple as brainstorming can become even more meaningful. Instead of asking AI to write your essay, ask it, what perspectives am I missing? What is the strongest counterargument to my claim? Those type of questions don't replace your thinking, but rather expand it, and that's the key difference. See, when people say AI literacy, they assume it's how to use ChatGPT. I don't. AI literacy means knowing how to ask better questions, verifying the answers when you receive them, recognizing when AI is wrong, and understanding when you shouldn't use AI at all. AI should never replace our thinking. It should challenge it. So, if that's a feature we want, then maybe the question isn't whether students should use AI. The better question would be, why aren't we teaching them how? Thank you.
Okay, Ryan. Okay.
Hello? Okay. Got it.
Really quick before you start, I want to make sure that video.
Yeah, so for the second slide, I can see So for the second slide, the words kind of small for me. I cannot really see it well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can try to make it bigger.
Okay.
Although you don't really have any notes. Hang on. I think it's going to play the video this time. I see the icon. You want to click it? Go back.
It's not playing like all.
It showed that it was going to play.
Let's try it from the beginning.
Okay.
Go. Should be playing right now. Wait.
Oh, it did that time.
So it was.
I think maybe it's working. It just takes a moment to engage. Maybe. Okay. Let's try it again.
Okay. 1, 2.
Then let it go. See how long it takes.
So it's not playing. Let me try to click one more time.
My name is Fatmata Binta. I'm a chef. I come from a tribe called the Fulanis.
It's using PowerPoint to play it to.
Yeah, it's trying to play within the PowerPoint.
Wait, it's using
but
the
it's
app.
just playing the audio.
Okay.
What's that?
It's using the app PowerPoint.
Is that what it's?
Kidney is like the app one where you set up the website.
Yeah.
It's PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not an app.
So try to play on over there. There's some working over there. That's not weird.
My name is Fatmata Binta. I'm a
Okay, let me try it again.
It's so strange because it worked the other time we did it.
Okay.
Oh, there it goes.
My name is Fatmata Binta.
Okay, cool. All right.
But I still not really see on over there really well. I think we need bigger. So I don't have like eyes look like this. I don't think.
Okay. What if I do?
Like Control and plus.
What if I do? Let me go to change, and I'll make this.
Okay.
Is that better? Oh, except now it took it away.
It disappeared.
What I was trying to do was just to make it full size.
Yeah.
So that it mirrors, but it doesn't want to mirror it that way. Well, if you need to look back occasionally, I mean, just try not to look always at the back.
Okay.
If you can, you know your speech well enough that you don't have to stare at it back there. So, all right, let me change it back, and then we'll get.
Hello. Okay. So let's just try to play the original one. I will try to look at it. Oh, maybe because I started like staring more like on the last few slides. I think I should like have a look on there because when I was talking, I figured out it's not really clear, and I just started to look back and for the last few slides. So I didn't actually look up for that one.
Let's see if I can do this. I'll try it one more time.
Oh.
Ah!
Oh, nice.
I think I got it. Let's see.
Okay. Shall we?
Okay.
Okay. When we start recording. Okay. Hi everyone. My name's Mike. Today we're gonna talk about the amazing food you've never heard of. Fonio. The first time I heard about this word, I don't know this word too. What is fonio? And then I started doing research online. I finally figured out what is fonio. So fonio is really good for human health. It's the low glycemic index ensures slow digestion and prevents sharp blood sugar spikes and naturally gluten-free. And it can thrive in poor sandy soils and requires minimal water and easy withstand surf droughts. And it cooks really fast, even faster than instant water. You can just pour boiling water in there and just instantly cook it, and can flavorize very instantly, really quickly. And the original flavor is also good too. It have a subtle, earthy, nutty flavor. And the next slide, we're gonna introduce a chef from West Africa who also cooking about fonio.
My name is Fatmata Binta. I'm a chef. I come from a tribe called the Fulanis. It's the largest nomadic tribe in Africa. There was a time I experienced civil war in Sierra Leone. When the war broke, we had to flee to my ancestral home, and rice and every other food they had couldn't sustain us. We had to come up with sustainable ways to actually sustain ourselves. And we started going fonio. So for me, fonio is very personal. These days we talk a lot about food law.